Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Harlan Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Harlan Berk and Mike Nodelman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of that gong means that it is time once again for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Harlan Berk. And since I'm Mike Nodelman, he must be
Harlan Berk.
Okay. So tonight on our podcast, we have a lot of auction results. We have got a really cool presentation for the educational segment. Double Doofus. This is just chock full. So we should get to it. So, Aaron,
We should.
what is going on in the world of hold on a second, let me make sure I got this. That's what I want. That's what I want. And now we could say, Aaron, what do we got going on in the world of coins?
So I'm going to there's not a lot going on really, but I wanted to talk about, right now it's primarily just e-auctions going on, not a lot of print auctions at all, because these are the slow months. Remember, our auction season is really spring, fall, and New York International. So those are, for ancient coins, those are our big events, but so we do have a lot of e-auctions. CNG just had one that closed today, July 19th. So depending on you're listening this, that's today, but if it's a week from now, then that's a week from now. If it's a month from now, it's a month from now.
Sure.
So I could be talking to you in the future 1 year from now. Anyway, so the first lot is lot 167, and I think it's interesting to talk about this before after the auction just happened. Plus, we just talked about these coins last
I was
week.
going to say, here's a bottle cap.
Beautiful, Mike. It's our bottle cap Antiochus the Sixth Seleucid Empire piece, and as you can see, the estimate was $100, which remember, a lot of the auction houses start with low estimates to draw you in. $200 was very fair for this piece. It's actually a lovely piece. It really shows the bottle cap serrated type very well, and the elephant is very clear on the other side. Beautiful coin for not a lot of money. Somebody did a great job getting that coin.
That was nicely bought.
The next coin is lot 204. I picked this one because there's just one of these oddities that come up. And so this is actually an imitation of an Athens tetradrachm done in basically modern Saudi Arabia during the ancient times of the 2nd to 1st centuries BC. So if you look closely, you can more or less see the owl on the reverse. It looks like a bug, but it's an owl. You can see the two eyes, and then you see kind of the head. It's very, what we like to say, stylized on the obverse of the coin.
At first, I thought it was like a lobster or something like that. But yeah, you could see it's a...
Yeah, so I just thought that was pretty cool. $375 for a really cool piece of history of a coin imitating one of the most famous coins in all of antiquity, the Athens tetradrachm.
Absolutely.
So actually really cool. Okay. And also probably degraded silver. That's why it's black. So it's probably just low grade silver. And then moving on, I brought this one up, the Otho, that's lot 401. The reason is that you never want to buy, it's a nice portrait, but because the name is so short, it's only OTHO, it's 4 letters. We always look for Othos. If we're going to buy one that's especially nice quality, we always buy it with the full name in the legend. And here you can see the name is off the legend there. You can almost see the little bit of the O on the far left there. It was at Otho, Caesar, ABG, CRPP. And so Otho is off. So even though it's a nice coin, quality-wise, I wouldn't buy this coin because it doesn't have the name in the legend.
Right.
So,
it could be missing part of the Caesar August or Caesar August, part of it.
That part could be gone, but as long as you
right.
had the word Otho there,
Right.
then, and I think it's just like, I thought about it today even a little bit more, and it's like, well, why was that always so important? My father would always say to me when we were buying coins of Otho, he'd say, oh, I don't want it, the name's off the flan. And it's because really, if you think about it, the name is so short in comparison to other Roman emperors that really it should be on there. It just, I don't know. maybe that's the reason. I can't think of any other reason, but to me, it's really important to have it there.
Well,
So,
isn't that really important with almost all, ancient
no,
coins as far as emperors?
not necessarily. I mean, you don't really need to have full names of everyone, but it just, I don't know. It's always, Otho's just been one of those emperors
Okay.
that has it. Maybe that's why it only went for $1,600. It is a little flat on the reverse. The head is quite nice, but the name is off the plan. So, oh well. Anyway,
Still went for twice what they thought it would.
right. So moving on, on the show, we don't like to plug Harlan Berk very often, but I have to toot our horn occasionally because I'm also in business, guys. So even though I'm teaching you, I also have to present when we actually have events at Harlan Berk. So we just launched our 224th sale last night. And so I wanted to show off 3 kind of cool coins. What's even more important about this sale is that we bought the Curtis Clay collection. If you don't know who Curtis Clay is our cataloger, and he's probably the best scholar living today on Roman coins.
I can honestly say Curtis has forgotten more about coins than I know.
He lives, breathes them. Yeah. So Curtis's collection was over 5,000 coins. And so we are offering the first 199 coins in this buyer bid sale, and there'll literally probably be 200 coins in every buyer bid sale going forward for a while. So almost all of the coins, not all of them will be beautiful, but every single coin will have some kind of rare variant because Curtis only bought coins that had some kind of rarity to it. He didn't generally buy common coins. He only bought things that were unique or rare for some reason. So if you're really into academia and you want to buy a coin from probably the best cataloger in the world on Roman coins, it's actually a great opportunity. But anyway, we're not going to talk about any of his coins today. So
No.
the first one I'm going to bring up is lot number 202. This is the Pergamum Gold Stater. Most people can't afford this, but they're fun to talk about. So this is one of the 100 greatest ancient coins. So it's the only issue that actually shows Alexander as Hercules, like it does on the silver tetradrams and drams of Alexander the Great. This is the only one that actually had that same portrait, but in gold, because all of Alexander's gold staters have Athena on the obverse, do not have his portrait on it. So this is the only issue that in gold that will have his portrait. And on the reverse, this is the only time the statue of Troy is on the reverse of the coin of this coin. They were made at Pergamum actually, and it's actually the famous Palladium of Troy. And so the myth is that this statue was in Troy and it was stolen out, and that was one of the ways that the city became weakened, and they got the Trojan horse in and defeated everyone at Troy, and where Achilles died, which Alexander was supposedly a descendant of Achilles. So there's the connection there as well.
And this one has a nice Trojan helmet on it as well.
Yeah, it does. So it's this was also in the Dr. Patrick Tan collection. It was an ex-Gemini. It was actually an ex-Berk from all the way back in 2014 and 2011 before that. So really fantastic coin, and one of the most famous coins in the whole series. So and Pergamum was a very powerful mint for Alexander going forward, and so why not have these coins minted there as well. So moving on, we have a Gallienus Aureus. Now we talked about Gallienus before. He was pretty amazing guy. He did a lot of incredible things. He reigned between 253 to 260, or 253 to 268 AD, and he he did all kinds of incredible things, and I really love his portraiture, and I love the simpleness of his name. And it's a little weak on the reverse, but I mean, $13,000 is still a lot of money for most people, but these
little.
in higher grade, these go for like $30,000 or more.
I was going to say, I mean, yes, there's kind of some weakness from like, the middle to 6 o'clock, but the rest of it seems pretty well struck.
Yeah. It's a really cool coin, and it's a cool series as well.
The obverse is really nicely centered.
I mean, it's really all about the obverse on this coin, honestly.
Yeah, the detail is really nice. It's crisp. There's not a lot of stuff going on in the fields of this coin.
Right. So anyway, and then moving on to the last coin, we have Manlia Scantilla. She was the oh God, I'm like drawing a blank. I think she was the wife of my brain. Give me a second here. I'm like spacing out here. Too many catalogs, too many. I think she was Diocletian. No, my brain. Where is my brain going today? And the reason I have this one, Didia's Juliana. Sorry, guys. I'm just like, I get brain farts just like everybody else.
Everybody has their
too much information in my head. That's the problem. Way too much information on my head. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about Manlia Scantilla later in our educational series, but a rare lady because Didius Julianus only reigned for 1 year in 193 AD, and so wasn't around very long. In fact, they call it the year of the 5 emperors. We've talked about this on an earlier podcast. A lot of killing going on, and kind of ended with Septimius Severus taking over with the Severan dynasty, which I will tie this in. That's what Curtis did his thesis on, was the Severan dynasty.
So explain to me, why is an empress on this coin?
Because Didius Julianus was giving her authority to issue coins, because they were actually called they got the title of Augusta, which meant that they could actually issue coins and they could actually have their own courts and things like that, and that was given by the Senate.
Okay.
So, and sometimes husbands did it, emperors did it as well. But in this case, they were actually able to issue their own coins. Or sometimes maybe a son of an empress might later, to honor their mother, will put them on a coin as well.
That makes sense.
So that happens as well. So, but when they given this special title, which we'll talk about later, they do have the right to issue coins. So, and have courts and all kinds of stuff. It's like being emperor for women. It's like the same title, but it's not. They don't have every
but they're not the emperor. They're married to the emperor, right?
Correct. So they kind of like give it in parallel, but they don't have the extreme rights to control everything. Yeah. But they have certain privileges.
By the grace of whoever.
Of the Senate. Yeah. The Senate gives it to them. But probably because the emperor asked for it.
Yes.
My guess. So anyway, and these coins can be brought, like Manlia Scantilla, and also her daughter, Didia Clara. They're rare because obviously they only were around for a year where they were issuing coins, and so any of them in silver, gold, or bronze are relatively rare and can be expensive, but it all depends on the quality again. So my father always has this saying that that successful people minted common coins and unsuccessful people minted rare coins, and he's absolutely correct.
So you're really into the unsuccessful people.
Well, if you want expensive coins, yeah.
Makes sense.
So anyway, check out the sale if you haven't had a chance. It's a buyer bid. I think we've already sold like in 24 hours, we had already sold like 75 lots in 24 hours. So
we've had pretty good
so
response today. And
yeah, it's you know, I mean, the advantage is you're not paying a 20 or 22.5% buyer's fee like you do in the auctions, and you're not competing against billionaires, because it's first come, first serve. And anything that's left over that goes for a bid for cheaper prices is going to be a deal, hopefully for you, if you take the chance of waiting till the end. So we really do try to price the coins to sell. Sometimes there are some high prices, but in general, if we put all high prices on it, nobody would buy anything. So
Right.
I think the testament of people buying so many lots is that they are in the price range that they need to be for the market. So in any case, and you don't have to wait 2 months or a month because there's an auction. You don't have to get up in the middle of the night. You don't have to leave a bid and hope they don't run the bid up. You know, there's all kinds of advantages. People always ask us like, why aren't you guys doing more auctions? And honestly, we are going to start doing some e-auctions coming up, but it's only going to be on cheaper coins to start, and there will be no buyer's fees. And so it's really just going to be e-sales to help support people who can't afford the very expensive coins, who just want to be able to buy things affordably. So that's what those are going to be for. And I wanted to do it, even though we're going to get charged like 3% from the company that hosts the sales for us. I'm going to eat that because I just don't want to charge my clients anything. I just want to take the buyer's fees out of it. So, and swallow those up. Anyway, we'll see how it works. So moving on, let's go to the Doofus. And I actually, client brought this to my attention. I had forgotten about it. And it was actually back in January, but I had forgotten all about this. And so I thought I'd go back to it. And I hate to pick on the NGC star again, but I have to, because it just ends up being the situation over and over and over again. And so this sold back in January. The prices realized was 15,000 hammer. So it actually sold with the commission $18,000. This is an Alexander the Great dram. These used to sell for $500 when I first started. And I would say if I had this in my catalog, the most I would ever sell this for is $2,000. And that would be a lot of money for an Alexander dram, a lot of money. So for somebody to pay $18,000, you could buy a nice Aureus for that amount of money.
Yeah, this is really small coin.
Well, it's a dram. So it's the smallest of the Alexander, one of the smallest, more common, smaller denominations. But it's ridiculous. It's a beautiful coin. There's no doubt. It deserves the MS star. But people don't pay money. I mean, obviously there's many people tangoing on this auction, but at least two people, but there's no reason to pay that. It's just ridiculous. And I don't think it will bring it a second time. I really don't. You know, you can have morons come to one party, but don't expect the morons to show up in every party, you know. So there's just no reason to pay that kind of money for that coin. And then the other one, if you want to say, well, has the market changed any? Well, no, it hasn't, because if you go to the second one, this is not even a nice dram, and this one sold for $8,250 hammer. So again, not including the 20% commission on top, so it's like $10,000 for what. And this was just this past month in June. So you know, Heritage is making a lot of money off these stars, and you know, I'm happy for them. I really am, but I'm sad for the collector, because the collector is going to lose their shirt big time. You know, I honestly would not ask more than $500 for that dram. I think it's ugly dye. I think it's sloppy. I don't even know why they gave it a star. I think it's really silly. It actually makes me angry. This one didn't even get a star.
No, this one didn't get a star.
They got a choice mint state. Hold my anger.
Yeah,
and it's a posthumous. It's not even a lifetime issue. I mean, it's I don't know.
It's a lot of money for a common coin.
It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And so it bugs me. And again, people have asked like, whoa, why doesn't Harlan Berk do this? Because I don't want to screw my clients. You know, I mean, Heritage doesn't care because it's in the name of auctions. They started at $500.
Right.
And estimated at 1,000, which, you know, it's
not their fault that two people fell in love with the coin.
But, you know, they know Heritage knows what's going to do gangbusters and what's not. They're not stupid. They know if they get starred coins that there's going to be people buying the plastic, and the coin has no bearing anymore. I was talking to a good friend about this today, and I said, it's sad when people just are buying the plastic and the coin is just, you could have an empty, you could have a plastic coin in there. It doesn't really matter anymore. It's not the coin anymore. You're only buying the plastic. That's all you're buying. To me, this is like, if you want to say that it's some kind of like crypto space where it's like, just make the plastic valuable. Forget even having a coin in there. Put a picture in there.
Yeah.
Well, that's why even have a coin
NFTs were?
Yeah. Okay, so put an NFT in there.
Yeah, there you go.
It
is kind of silly.
Look,
this is not a phenomenon that is unique to ancient coins, because we have the same problem with modern coins, and I think it's a lot of the same types of people. They're just basically, it's not that they're not smart, they're uneducated. They're more just ignorant to what's going on than not smart enough to handle it. And they're not interested in a lot of cases in doing the work to figure it out. They just want to buy something that they think is going to either hold value or appreciate. And so they start looking at things, and the first thing that pops up is, okay, well, this is an ancient coin. This is a really nice one. This is one of think about this. This is 2,000 years old. And they just start believing, they start drinking the Kool-Aid. And before you know it, they're buying something and they're overpaying for something that, although nice, is just not worth it.
Right. Yeah, no, it just, but I think that in ancient coins, it's happening at a much stronger pace than moderns. Moderns sell for a lot more than they should, but ancient coins, when you're paying $20,000 for a coin that's worth no more than $1,000 to $2,000, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense anymore. And some of that ignorance comes with ancient coins, because people think, well, they're 2,000 years old, they should be worth a lot of money, and so they just,
old equals valuable and rare.
Mm-hmm. And look, you're right. It happens in U.S. coins all the time. We have clients that come into Harlan Berk all the time, and they bring us, they've never worked with a dealer before. And I'm sure Mike can attest to this as well. Never worked with a dealer before. They bring us a couple of coins. We tell them, well, there's a problem with this or whatever. And we give them the background, and they say, well, can I bring the rest of my coins so I can have you eyeball them all? And you bring them in and you find, well, this is a fake, or, and we had a guy come in this week dealing with Mike Prince in our office, and one of the slabs he had was a fake slab. So, and it was an expensive coin. And so that he ended up buying on eBay. Well, right. That's his mistake for buying it on eBay, but he thought, oh, it's certified, so it should be fine.
Right.
And so we're constantly, when people, they end up just going to Heritage or Stacks because those are the big names and they've got these big marketing departments. And so it's easier for them to find them right away. And then they think, okay, well, they're the authority. They're the biggest in the world. They sell the best coins, and they don't realize that there's a big world out there, and that they are with a bunch of other people, thousands of other people who are in the same boat as them and don't know. And so, of course, then they're bidding, and that's to the credit of Heritage and Stacks, that they have that many people who don't know what they're doing, looking at their stuff and not getting any advice. And then they have too much money to spend, I guess, or too much available income.
Heritage and Stacks, their obligation is to try to maximize the dollars gotten for their pieces. That's it.
Right.
They're very good at doing that. That is not congruent with the collector's philosophy, which is trying to get, something of value or good, a really good specimen. One of the things that I thought was kind of eye-opening was, if you think of grading, it's like, it doesn't matter, ancient, modern, whatever. But if you think of grading as like, okay, with each grade, there's a range. And it's where in that range does your coin fall? It's like, it's easy to find coins that are in the low end of the range. What you want to find is exceptional coins for that grade. So these are going to be, they're technically should sell for the same price, but they don't. because the coin
Right.
is better. You've got to learn to look for that and learn how to recognize that in the coin, and that's how you're going to learn to buy it.
And like if you go back to that Alexander the Great that we showed that sold for $20,000 or $18,000, that coin is an amazing coin, and we used to always say, there's one in every 2,000 or 3,000 Alexander the Great drams or tetradrams that you see that might be worth $2,000. And that's one of those coins, but is it worth 18,000?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Are
And in
any of
fact,
them.
I checked that dram of Alexander that sold for 18,000 in January was the record for the most expensive dram that ever sold by a long shot. And it was number 2, this one that sold for 10,000 in
Wow.
June. So, there's something wrong with that, guys.
Well,
You don't
that's
want to
definitely
be,
an outlier.
it's okay.
You
You
can't
can't
use
be
that
the-
to adjust your auction history.
No, but they will, because now they'll have that in the population report when people do their research. And they'll say, well, the market is for that. But then when they're looking at Heritage's, research that uses NGC statistics, they don't get the rest of the world. So because why? Because it's all based on the grades that
Right.
NGC gave. And so, it's a real problem. You think, oh, I'm, in US coins, when you get those records, it's the whole market.
Mhm.
It's the entire market. In ancient coins, that's not the case. It's like 10% of the market, maybe 15. I mean, it's definitely growing. I will definitely say that. And I think that there are some, I've always said this, there are some really good things that NGC is good for, really good for, like vetting coins, really good for it. I just don't like when people overpay for them. That's all. It's the advantage to NGC, to Heritage, and to Stacks, and to telemarketers, or anyone else who wants to sell these things for huge money. Look, if I can buy a coin that's raw, get it into a holder that has a star, and it sells for 20 or 30 times what I paid, I'm doing
Right.
a little dance.
You're happy.
But
the guy who
but
bought
that's
it isn't. Well,
right.
actually, the guy who bought it probably is. But
Until
that's
they
gonna
go to
be
sell
right.
it.
That they're going to be very short-lived.
Because then you have to hope to God that 2 other people feel the same way again. And that doesn't always happen in auctions. Now, when they're starting them out at, and then what are they going to have to start it out at? They started it out at 1,000, at $500. Are they going to start it out at $10,000 because it brought 18,000?
Right. Where do you start that coin? 3,000? I don't know.
And at 3,000, you'd be really nervous if you paid the 18. And Heritage might say to you, and this is all hypothetical.
Sure.
Might say, oh, don't worry, it'll get there. I mean, I had that happen to
Until
me
it doesn't.
I've had that happen in Christie auctions selling antiquities where they've said to me, oh, can you lower the reserve? Because, I have tons of people looking at it, but if you just lower it a little bit, it'll do gangbusters. And it didn't do gangbusters at all. It went for nothing. And I lost my butt because they lowered my reserve. And in the end, they don't care. They just take their commission.
They gave you bad advice and it hurt you.
It hurt me big time. So big time. And so, that's the other thing, guys, when a little bit of, it's not our pearl of wisdom, but you always have to take what auction houses say with a little bit of a grain of salt. Get other opinions. Get a dealer a collector's never come to me and said, hey, can you negotiate this collection? I don't want you to sell it for me. I want Heritage to sell it for me. But can you negotiate it for me and make sure they're doing all the right things for me? It's probably worth to have some dealer do that for you. It's probably not the worst thing that can happen. We've done it on US coins.
Yeah.
So, and done very well for our clients.
Sure.
And worked on like 1 or 2%. So, it's, when you build, like I said, and I've said this in earlier broadcasts, when we help build a collection, we like to be part of when it sells too. It doesn't mean that we have to necessarily sell it, but we'd like to be at least advising the people on how to handle it. So that's at least a credit to us for helping build the collection properly, giving discounts and doing everything else.
I mean, at least we're not selling it and then trying to get as far away from it as we can, which is, that's the thing you'd worry about.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, let's move on to our educational section, Mike.
Okay.
Excuse me. So So I did pretty in pink because we're dealing with today on when Mike gets there, Roman women on
Mike
coins.
Gets there.
Oh, go to the top, Mike.
Yeah.
There you go, big guy.
Everybody's a critic.
Everybody's a critic. So so let's talk about Roman women on coins.
Coins.
Yeah. So the very first, there was empresses and things like this, right? But in Roman coins, the very first living Roman woman to appear on a coin was Flavia, who's the wife of Marc Antony. And it was issued by one of the Roman Republican moneyers in 42 BC. So that would have been 2 years after Julius Caesar's assassination. And so you actually have, it's a victory on the obverse, but it has the features of Fulvia. And so she's the very first woman to ever show up on a Roman coin, living person to show up on a Roman coin, which is pretty cool. And Marc Antony plays out in a few of these first few slides. If you go to the next slide, Marc Antony later, after Flavia dies, he marries Octavia, and they issue this cystophoric tetradrachm in 39 BC. So this is a tetradrachm, probably the size of a New Style Athens. If you've ever seen one of those, probably about $50 size. They're big coins. And so there you have two portraits on the obverse. You have Marc Antony in front, and then behind is his wife, Octavia. So here's a situation. Marc Antony liked to put his partner side by side, or if you go to the next slide, we've seen many times, we have Marc Antony and Cleopatra. This guy got around. He was a stud, let me tell you.
I was going to make that comment that it's like, he's getting it on with Cleopatra. He has a wife here.
And they were fighting the civil wars. So
and he's killing Caesar, or he's not killing Caesar. He wasn't there, but
Well, and actually, Marc Antony ended up he was supposed to marry Augustus or Octavian's sister, and ditched her for Cleopatra.
Yeah.
So, and that's what started the rift between, one of the rifts between Augustus and Marc Antony when he went to Cleopatra. So, and here again, we've talked about this coin. This is a fantastic.
Oh, he certainly looks happy.
With that, they have the same schnoz. So, and if you've seen my knock videos, I did one where I'm actually wearing a fake nose when I was talking about Cleopatra, because she does have a sizable schnoz.
Proboscis.
Yeah, exactly. So if we go to the next slide, we have Livia.
Roman nose.
We have Livia. She was the wife of Augustus, and this was struck by Tiberius, Augustus's and Livia's offspring, which was Tiberius. So, and we know we've talked about the Tiberius tribute penny. Well, this is his mother, and so here Tiberius was, giving thanks to his mother on a coin. And Livia actually lived to be 87 years old. She outlived a lot of her contemporaries. So did a
in the ancient
pretty
world,
fantastic
that's
job.
like Methuselah.
It's very, very long.
Yeah.
It was very, very long. And look, guys, I'm not going to get every Roman woman. If you guys want to pipe in on the chat lines on YouTube or in the Facebook group and bring up your favorite female woman on coin that I didn't cover, feel free. These are the ones I liked, so, but you don't, and again, I'm showing you really fantastic quality coins, but most of these coins, except for maybe Flavia for the most part, most of these coins can be purchased inexpensively in lower quality, different metals, things like that. So always keep that in mind as well. So, and and actually, if you collect the women, they're actually less money than the men. So I don't know, because why? Because we mostly have men who collect ancient coins. There are some women that collect ancient coins, but not very many. And so I think that's one of the big reasons why they don't usually go for a lot of money. But I think they're really interesting. They're beautiful types, really interesting.
So maybe an underappreciated buying opportunity.
100%. 100%. So if you go to the next slide, we have Agrippina Senior. She was the mother of Caligula. And and she was actually the first Roman empress to become Augusta, and she held the position for the rest of her life.
Well, this is posthumous, isn't it?
Yes, but during her lifetime.
Okay.
No,
wait a minute.
Not necessarily this coin particular.
Oh, okay. I'm saying, but this particular coin is posthumous, right?
It is. It is posthumous. Okay. That's right. But she was still given the titles. I'm just saying in her life. I'm talking about her life in general.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah.
So if we go to the next coin again, where I had my brain fart, we have Manlia Scantilla, who is the wife of Didius Julianus with their daughter, Didia Clara. And both Didia Clara and Manlia Scantilla were given the title of Augusta as well. So, and then after the assassination of Didius Julianus and Septimius Severus took over, their titles were stripped from them by Septimius Severus, but they were not put to death. And they were able to actually give Didius Julianus a nice funeral with all of the titles and things. And no one knows how long they lived or anything like that, but they were not killed off like a lot of people are in this. So Septimius, maybe that's why Septimius reigned for so long, and his children as well. And so if we go to the next one, you'll see why Septimius is so cool. This is Septimius Severus with his wife, Julia Domna, and their two children, Caracalla and Geta, side by side. So you have the whole family on a coin. Really, really beautiful, wonderful aureus. Really, really incredible. And we all know how terrible Caracalla was down the road, because he ended up assassinating Geta. And then after he died, Julia Domna actually committed suicide. So,
am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Exactly. And then we're going to go to the next slide. We have the very famous Helena, which is the mother of Constantine the Great. And so, and that's where you got Saint Helena from. She was very important in the Catholic faith as well. And it was said that I was reading somewhere that her bones were replaced in the 14th century and brought to some convent or some place, and you can actually supposedly go visit them. So, but she was supposedly able to recover the true cross as well during while she was alive, while Constantine was still reigning.
True cross?
The true cross, yeah.
Unsure what that means, but okay.
The cross that Jesus Christ was crucified on, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway. So, and then we go to our final slide. We have a very interesting lady, Licinia Eudoxia. She was the daughter of Theodosius II and wife of Valentinian III. And she was also, most of these were all granted Augusta by the Senate. And then she had two daughters, Eudoxia and Placidia, which are both issued coins with their husbands later on, or on their own, whatever the case might be. But it's interesting when one of the great things about collecting the women is it ties the whole family together, and you see the ties, and you see why they were married to certain houses, to bring certain houses together. The women were and this is all the way through most of history, the women were used to actually bring peace to countries, because the two houses were brought together. This happened in England and France all the time.
They were used as diplomatic tools more than anything else.
They were. And I heard the story. I don't remember. It was somebody in England, maybe in like the Middle Ages. I don't remember, but the king had to marry some really disgusting obese woman, and when he had sex with her, he put a, I think he put a bag on his head or a bag on her head. I don't remember what the situation was, but didn't want to have sex with her, and he had a lot of lovers. So, I mean, Henry the Eighth had a ton of lovers. So
yeah, well,
he also had bad gout.
Do those two go hand in hand? I'm not sure.
I think eating and drinking too much.
So, okay. I'm sorry to steer this back towards ancient coins. As somebody who's learning, right? I look at the legends. I always look at the legends on these coins, trying to kind of get clues. This Licinia that I'm looking at, it's funny to me that this is the kind of coin that would drive most people absolutely crazy, because even when you know what it says and it's well struck, it's still hard to read.
Yeah, you kind of have to read between the lines a little bit. And you know what? I'll do a podcast at one point on legends. That'd be really interesting.
No, I think that would be interesting.
Would be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously can't cover all the legends. But it would be cool to kind of cover some. Yeah. So that'd be
the legends of legends.
The legends of legends. So, hey, a legend does legends. How's that?
How about that?
How's that? Well, I'm not much of a legend, but sounded good. All right, so that's my, again, women on coins, great thing to collect, inexpensive, especially in silver denarii. Obviously in bronze, always the best bet, but there's no reason you can't get really nice coins in silver of a lot of the empresses, unless they're extremely rare, obviously. Lots in the Severan period, and some in the late period as well. So definitely something worth doing. If you are into emperors and you want to put the families together, it's always good to get the wife or the mother along with it. So just something to think about, and another key to something to collect in ancient coins.
# women in numismatics.
There we go. So that's going to bring us to our pearl of wisdom, and this comes up all the time with coins. It doesn't so much happen with I don't think it happens with US coins as much, because it's so quality based.
No. This is a question that I get all the time. So I'm really curious as to whether or not the answer is the same with ancients as it is with modern. So please.
So when you're collecting ancient coins, there's always going to be this major rarity that's going to be difficult. Like, look, if you're collecting the 12 Caesars in silver, and you're not finding a good Caligula for cheap because it's just, and you're trying to build quality, it's okay to grab a bronze coin of Caligula just to say you completed it for now. And when that silver coin comes up that you can afford, you can pull it out and move it in. Why I like doing stuff like that in certain situations is because a lot of people get so hung up on a particular set that they can't move on from it, and they want to move on, but they can't. And so it gives you the ability to move on and look elsewhere and build something else. But at the same time, you always have your eyes open for that coin if it pops up.
Sure. It gives you the feeling. It gives you the feeling of completeness without really, because it may be a big hurdle and there may not come one available in your price range for a while. Right. It's just one of those things. It's a waiting game.
And I was really happy to see this the other day, is I actually saw on one of the discussion groups, somebody had a 12 Caesar set in all metals. It was really cool. And it was just like, that's just what they could afford, and I loved it. It was awesome. It was so cool.
It is your suggestion to buy a coin that is within your budget that you'll be happy with, rather than buy a cheaper version of the coin that you want. That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, and also I have a lot of clients that have sets and they're like, okay, well that's an upgrade on this coin. So I'm going to buy this one and swap it out. And so they have the whole collection finished, but they're working on quality after that.
Right. But
So
so what's your feeling on the upgrading?
Oh, I think it's really good to do upgrading. Absolutely.
Okay. See, because in a modern world, it's something that I actually advise against. That is really difficult because, you're going to have to sell a coin in order to upgrade it, and you paid retail for it. You're not going to get retail when you sell it, so you're going to lose selling the coin. Then you're going to pay retail again for the next coin. That's all I'm saying is that's why I think upgrading in modern sense doesn't make anywhere near as much sense because the coins are out there.
Yeah, it's I think that it's kind of a secondary thing with a lot of ancient people. They'll say to me, I have my sets completed, but there are some coins that I would be a lot happier if I upgraded. And so when ones come along that fit that bill, they're happy to trade them out because when they go to show that collection, and especially like, let's say a 12 Caesar set, and let's say your Claudius is corroded, but it was the only Claudius you could afford at the time. And maybe it took you 5 years or longer to put the set together. Okay. Depending on when you were making money and things like that. And so, or when you had disposable income for this hobby. And so then a Claudius comes up that's fantastic. And they're like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to upgrade that coin. And now I still have a Claudius that it's corroded, but it's going to be really good for somebody else to buy that for me because that's going to fill their hole, or it's going to complete their stuff because that's the quality that they can afford.
Right.
So there's always going to be a desire where certain coins that will be easy to move, and you may still make money depending on how long ago you bought the coin.
Yeah.
So I still think that it's possible. I think
look, you're always going to want to put forth the best set that you possibly can, right? That's the whole idea is you want to build the sweetest collection that you possibly can. But be careful with upgrading because, if the coin is readily available and it's just a matter of waiting it out, sometimes it's better to wait. But that's a modern thing, not an ancient thing.
If you're just buying one-off coins, then that, of course, do that. But if you're actually putting together a set, that's different.
Yeah.
There's a difference between putting together sets, and it's easier to put together sets with U.S. coins than it is with ancient coins.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And so with ancient coins, you can say, well, is there a set of Greek coins? Not really. Can you say, well, I want to collect all the mints of Alexander the Great? Okay, that's fine. But it's most of the time people collect Greek coins like, okay, I want one from Aegina, I want from Corinth, I want one from Alexander, I want in Athens. It's a very mixed bag of what people want, unless you focus on a specific city. And now you're going to have to say, well, if I'm going to collect a city, am I going to do it all in silver? Do they have gold? Am I going to do it all in bronze? Do I want both silver and bronze? Because I want everything that city did. So, it's, and then at that point you can hold out for the best pieces that you're looking for because they're just one-offs, in that situation.
Right.
But when you're building a set, it's the filler idea becomes a little bit more tangible.
Sure.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
So
and I can see where
makes more sense.
It definitely, you buy the bronze coin and put a nice bronze in there because, even when you do find the silver coin for it, that bronze is going to be a nice coin and it's going to be well worth keeping.
Right. Well, and it also depends on how you're collecting. If it feels good to be able to complete a set with a coin maybe that you wouldn't necessarily love to buy, but you may lose some money on, it's not the end of the world because you're not doing this to make money necessarily. You're doing it because it's a hobby.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys out there that aren't millionaires or even, don't even make $100,000 a year that do this hobby, can buy coins that are $20 to $50 and do have lots of happiness. And yeah, they're not going to make money, but they've got a lot of wealth of knowledge and appreciation for the hobby. And so that goes a lot farther.
Yeah, I was going to say they've still profited from the hobby. I mean, that's
Yeah.
It's good for you.
So, people losing money on specific ancient coins because they're buying the bottom of the barrel, I'm okay with, because they're not doing it to make money. They're doing it just to have fun.
Right.
Guys that are spending $18,000 on an Alexander the Great dram, they're doing it for investment. They have there's no collectability there at all. That's only for investment. So otherwise you wouldn't just be buying the plastic.
Well, the only note I would add to that is they're doing it for investment poorly.
Poorly is correct. Well, they're rolling a very big dice.
You're doing it wrong.
Right. So anyway, all right, Mike, that's number 32.
32 in the books. That is something else. So, well, yeah, I guess we don't have anything else. This one was kind of fun and very action packed, and we gave them their money's worth again. So thank you to everybody who helped make this possible. Thank you to our production staff. Thanks, Aaron. And thank you to everybody who listened, because we really do appreciate it. Anything else for him, Aaron?
No, thanks for dealing with my brain fart today. And I'll try not to have that happen again.
Hey, you know what? It happens to the best of us. So thanks for listening, everybody. And we will talk to you on episode 33 of the Ancient Coin Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.